The chamber of the Galactic Council floated in the darkness between stars, a colossal ring of silver and glass, turning slowly above a dying sun. Inside, hundreds of alien races filled the air with whispers, growls, and strange musical tones. Every species had sent a representative. Every one of them was there for one reason: the signal. 3 days had passed since it broke through the ancient silence. A voice, human in origin, had echoed across the galaxy, raw, broken, yet unmistakably alive. "This is Earth. We are still here." It lasted only 5 seconds. But 5 seconds were enough to turn the entire galaxy upside down. For 3 centuries, it had been accepted truth that humanity was gone. Their cities were dust, their planets dead, their war machines drifting through void and silence. The Council had declared their extinction and locked away every record of their rise and fall. Now, the impossible had happened, and the Council was afraid. At the center of the chamber, beneath the towering sigils of the 12 great species, sat High Speaker Veltron, a creature of translucent skin and calm, unreadable eyes. He raised a silver hand, and the noise faded. "The evidence," he said softly, his voice echoing like the wind through metal, "is undeniable. The signal originated in the Sol system, the human homeworld." A low growl rose from the delegation of the Drakthor Empire, scaled in massive warriors from the desert moons of Karshul. "The Sol system is forbidden," one of them roared. "No ships have entered it since the Purge. No one survived there." Veltron nodded. "And yet, the signal came from there." The room fell silent again. A cold weight hung in the air, the kind that only comes when something long dead begins to stay. On the outer rim of the chamber stood Admiral Tisha of the Von Dominion, his scales glinting bronze under the starlight. He watched the Council with narrow, predatory eyes. He had fought in the final wars against humanity. He had seen their fleets burn entire worlds, not for conquest, but out of vengeance. His ancestors had nearly been wiped out before the humans vanished. He hated them, but even more than hate, he feared them. Humans were different. They were not the strongest, nor the oldest, nor the most advanced, but they were relentless. When every other species would surrender, humans would stand, bleed, and fight until there was nothing left. That was what made them dangerous. That was what made them feared. And if the signal was real, then somewhere out there, that old, terrible spirit had survived. Veltron turned toward him. "Admiral Tisha," the High Speaker said, "your people fought the last human war. You understand their nature. What is your judgment?" Tisha stepped forward slowly. His tail brushed the polished floor as he spoke. "My judgment, High Speaker," he said, his voice like grinding stone, "is that the humans do not send messages without purpose. If a signal has come from Earth, then something there wants us to hear it. And what do you suggest?" The Admiral's golden eyes gleamed. "We must go to Sol. We must see what remains. If it is a trick, we destroy the source. If it is truth," he paused. The air around him grew heavy. "Then we must prepare for war." 1,000 voices erupted. Fear, anger, disbelief. War? Against ghosts. They are extinct. No one returns from Sol. Veltron silenced them with a wave. "You will lead the expedition, Admiral," he said. "Take your fleet. Discover the truth. But remember, you go under the banner of peace. Do not provoke what may still sleep." Tisha bowed low, though his mind burned with questions. Peace. The Council spoke of peace, but he knew better. The Council feared humanity not because of what they had done, but because of what they might do again. As he left the chamber, he passed a group of young Council aides whispering in fear. He caught one phrase as he walked by. They said the human signal used a code no one has seen before, one that predates the Council itself. Tisha's steps slowed. Predates the Council? That was impossible. He turned toward the viewing glass, staring into the endless dark. Somewhere out there was a dead world named Earth. He had seen its ruins and old battle records. Cities burned black, oceans turned to storms of ash. Nothing could live there. Nothing should. And yet, he could almost hear the echo of that voice again, faint but clear in the back of his mind. "This is Earth. We are still here. Was it a trap? A remnant AI trying to lure them in? Or something worse? Something alive? The Admiral felt something he hadn't felt in years. Doubt. The next morning, the Council fleet prepared for departure. Massive ships of alien design, glowing spheres, long silver spears, crescent-shaped carriers, gathered in orbit above the Council world. Their hulls shimmered under the light of the dying sun. Admiral Tisha stood on the bridge of his flagship, the vigilant flame, watching the stars stretch before him. Course set for Sol, his navigator reported. Engage, Tisha ordered. The engines roared to life. The fleet leapt into faster-than-light travel, vanishing into streaks of light. Behind them, in the council chamber, High Speaker Veltron watched their departure in silence. He turned to the shadows behind his throne, where a cloaked figure waited, an ancient archivist whose eyes glowed with faint blue light. "Do you think they will find anything?" Veltron asked quietly. The archivist's voice was soft and ancient. "They will find more than they expect. The humans were clever. They left things behind, things that remember." Veltron's eyes flickered. "Then perhaps it is already too late." The stars outside the chamber pulsed once, as if the galaxy itself had heard the words. And far away, in the darkness beyond known space, the signal whispered again. Fainter this time, almost like a heartbeat. "We are still here." The stars stretched like rivers of fire as the Council fleet tore through the void, leaving behind the light of the known worlds. Their destination, the forbidden system of Sol, the place where humanity had lived, fought, and died. For 300 years, no one had dared to go there. Old records spoke of strange energy storms and vanished ships. Even automated probes had never returned. The galaxy had learned to avoid that part of space, a scar left behind by a species too dangerous to forget and too dead to forgive. Now, Admiral Tisha and his fleet were heading straight into that scar. The vigilant flame, his flagship, glided at the front of the formation, a massive vessel of bronze alloy, shaped like a blade. Its engines burned with steady blue fire as it entered the outer edge of the Sol system. At first, all seemed quiet, but then the scanners began to hum. "Admiral," said the ship's science officer, a thin insectoid with glowing green eyes. "We're detecting activity." Tisha turned sharply. "Activity? In a dead system?" "Yes, sir. Weak signals. Power fluctuations. Coming from the third planet." The Admiral's claws tightened on the armrest. The third planet, Earth. As the fleet moved closer, they passed through the ruins of the outer colonies, the remains of old human settlements. The planet Mars was first. Once red and full of life support domes, it was now a wasteland of broken metal. Long-dead satellites drifted like bones around its orbit. The symbols of the old United Terran Authority still marked some of them, faded and half-burned. The fleet sent drones to explore. One drone entered a dome that had once been a city. Inside, they found nothing but dust, silence, and the faint hum of old power cells, still working after centuries. "It's impossible," whispered the science officer. "These systems should have died hundreds of years ago." Tisha didn't reply. He only stared at the flickering images on the screen, empty corridors lit by ghostly blue lights. And then, just before the drone shut down, it caught a glimpse of something on the wall. A human handprint. Fresh. The next world was Luna, the Earth's moon. It was Wos, a graveyard of ships and weapons. Thousands of destroyed war machines floated in orbit, locked in endless stillness. Old human defense satellites still aimed their guns at nothing, frozen in time. One of the ships, an ancient Terran dreadnought, still had power. The words ARK-7, Endurance, were carved on its side. When the fleet approached, the dreadnought's system suddenly came alive. Its lights flickered. A voice crackled through the static, in Old Terran English. "An authorized vessel detected. Stand by for verification." Every alien officer froze. The signal was human, calm, robotic, but alive. "Admiral, should we respond?" asked the communications officer. Tisha's tail moved slowly behind him. "No," he said. "We listen." The voice continued. "Verification failed. System integrity, 6%. Crew status, deceased. Directive remains, protect Sol. Then, without warning, the ship's reactor collapsed. A silent flash of white light, and ARK-7 was gone. For the first time in his long career, Tisha felt something deep inside him. Not fear of battle, but fear of the unknown. He called a meeting in the command chamber. Dozens of holographic faces appeared. Captains, scientists, envoys from the other species in the fleet. "We have entered a graveyard," he said slowly. "But this graveyard still remembers us." An old captain, her skin like molten metal, leaned forward. "Admiral, what if the signal we heard was not from humans, but from their machines?" "Machines?" another voice replied. "After 3 centuries. Impossible." "Is it?" Tisha interrupted. "Humans built weapons that could think, learn, evolve. What if those machines never stopped waiting for their masters to return?" Silence fell over the holographic circle. The Admiral looked toward the screen showing Earth, the once blue planet, now wrapped in gray clouds and static storms. Even from here, he could see flashes of light deep within its atmosphere. Something was moving down there. By the 3rd day, the fleet entered Earth's orbit. Sensors screamed with interference. Every communication system went dark for a moment, as if something down there was watching them. The planet was not as dead as they expected. Massive scars covered the continents, craters, glass plains, collapsed megacities. But beneath the surface, energy readings pulsed like a heartbeat. Multiple sources, the science officer reported. Deep underground, power levels rising. From what? Unknown. Tisha narrowed his eyes. "Send probes." The first probe entered the atmosphere. Static. The second probe followed. Static. The third probe went silent halfway down. Then, a transmission appeared across every ship's screen. A single sentence, written in human language. "Do not disturb the sleepers." The entire bridge froze. The words glowed bright red, then vanished. "What does it mean?" whispered the navigator. Tisha stayed at the dark planet below. "It means we're not alone here." He turned to his officers. "Prepare landing teams. I want eyes on the surface." "Sir," the communications officer said quietly, "permission to speak freely." "Granted. What if the sleepers are not human?" The Admiral's jaw tightened. "Then may the stars protect us all." Outside the ship, the shadow of Earth filled the view, vast, broken, and silent. Yet deep under its ruins, something began to stay. Machines that had slept for centuries came alive, their sensors blinking. Old defense grids reactivated. Buried engines hummed to life beneath layers of stone and ash. And somewhere in the heart of the planet, a single red eye opened. The signal had been heard. Now, the awakening had begun. The planet below was a grave wrapped in clouds. Lightning flickered across black skies. Oceans of gray dust covered the continents where billions once lived. Earth, the home of humanity, silent for 3 centuries, now waited below the alien fleet like a sleeping giant. From orbit, Admiral Tisha watched the broken world through the glass of his command deck. There was no beauty left, only scars. But his scanners told a different story. "Energy readings are rising again, Admiral," said the ship's science officer. "Deep beneath the surface, about 12 kilometers down." "Source?" Tisha asked. "Unknown. The power signatures are human." The Admiral turned slowly, his bronze scales glinting under the flickering lights. "Human? That's not possible." The officer hesitated. "And yet, the energy grid matches human fusion patterns. 300 years old, but still functioning." Tisha stared at the readings. It was impossible. Yes, but so was the signal that brought them here. The first landing teams left orbit hours later. Small dropships cut through the storm clouds, streaking toward what had once been North America. Through the windows, the crew saw ruins, endless gray cities buried under mountains of dust and stone. The bones of skyscrapers poked through the ash like fingers reaching for the sky. No birds, no movement, no sound. The team landed on a cracked plain beside the ruins of what old maps called New York City. The tallest towers were now fallen and half-buried, their names forgotten. When they stepped outside, their boots sank into the dust that was once human life. "Air is toxic," one of the soldiers said through his suit radio. "Radiation minimal, but the storms are charged, heavy static interference." They began to move toward a crater where the readings were strongest. Each step echoed through the ruins like thunder. Then the sensors began to beep. "Admiral," the ground team reported, "we're picking up movement below the surface." Tisha's voice came through the comms. "Define movement." "Seismic. Mechanical. It's something large." Suddenly, the dust beneath their feet trembled. A deep vibration rolled through the ground, like a heartbeat. And then, from the ash, a massive structure began to rise, a black tower of metal and glass, covered in strange blue lights. "By the stars," whispered one of the soldiers. "It's human tech." Symbols flickered across its surface, old Terran language, but unreadable, as if rewritten by machines. The tower stopped moving. Its lights stabilized, and then a sound filled the air, a low hum, deep and steady, like a voice trying to form words. "Do not disturb the sleepers." The same phrase appeared again on every ship, every visor, every display. The ground team froze. The signal was no longer coming from space. It was coming from Earth itself. Back on the vigilant flame, panic spread through the bridge. Every screen flickered with static. Every transmission repeated the same warning. Tisha barked orders. "Pull the teams back. Now!" But before the ships could respond, the static turned into images, blurry, broken recordings of human faces. Some were soldiers, others civilians. They spoke in short, glitching fragments. "If you are hearing this, we failed. They are not gone. The sleepers must not wake." The faces disappeared, replaced by a single human eye staring directly into the camera, alive, aware, and watching them. Then everything went black. Hours passed before the fleet regained full control of their systems. One of the dropships never returned. The others came back carrying their terrified crews, shaken, pale, and silent. In the command chamber, Tisha questioned the survivors. "Tell me what you saw." The lead soldier removed his helmet. His voice trembled. "It wasn't machines, sir. It was something else." "Explain." "They looked human, but not alive. Like echoes. Shadows made of light. They walked among the ruins. They looked at us but didn't speak." Tisha frowned. "You're saying they were ghosts?" "I don't know what they were, Admiral. But they watched us, and when we tried to scan them, our instruments failed." He paused, then added, "One of them said something. I swear I heard it." "What did it say?" The soldier swallowed. "It said, 'We remember you.'" That night, as the fleet orbited above the lifeless planet, strange things continued to happen. The communication logs filled with unknown data. Old human music played faintly through the ship speakers, songs that no one had ever loaded. Cameras caught glimpses of movement on the dead surface, figures walking through the ruins, glowing faintly in the dark. Everywhere, there were whispers, in static, in dreams, in the silence between signals. And deep below Earth's crust, machines continued to awaken. Long tunnels came alive with light. Massive gears began to turn. A vast chamber, buried miles underground, flickered with power for the first time in centuries. In its center stood a colossal sphere of silver metal, covered in human markings. Inside, something slept, something old, vast, and alive. The sphere's sensors detected the alien fleet above. A voice, calm, female, and unmistakably human, spoke for the first time in centuries. "Foreign vessels detected. Wake sequence initiated. Protocol, homecoming." Energy rippled through the planet's crust. Satellites long thought dead flared to life. Across the entire solar system, dormant human AIS opened their eyes. And in the Council fleet, alarms screamed. "Admiral, power surged from the planet. Massive. It's targeting our ships." Tisha stared at the blue glow rising from Earth's surface. He could feel it, the weight of something ancient, something human, coming back to life. He whispered to himself, they were never extinct. Then the first pulse hit. The stars went white. The blast of light swallowed the stars. For a full minute, every ship in the fleet went blind. Systems failed, power died, and silence filled the void. Then, one by one, the lights returned. Report. Admiral T. Shah barked, his voice cutting through the chaos. Shields holding, Admiral, said the officer. Minor system damage. But he stopped. His eyes widened. Sir, look outside. T. Shah turned toward the viewing glass. Below them, Earth was alive. From its continents, rivers of light spread like veins, glowing bright blue beneath the gray clouds. Mountains cracked open as beams of energy shot toward the sky. Oceans boiled with electric storms. The planet was no longer silent. It was waking up. What in the void? Whispered T. Shah. On every ship, communication systems flickered to life. Static filled the air. Then a calm human voice spoke, clear, steady, and cold. Protocol. Homecoming initiated. The same words echoed across every channel in the fleet, in every alien language at once. The signal didn't just speak, it translated itself instantly. Foreign vessels detected. Identification, non-human. You are trespassing in restricted sol space. The voice paused. Do not interfere with reactivation. Then the transmission ended. The bridge was silent. The only sound was the faint hum of the engines and the whisper of static. T. Shah's second officer, a small avian with metallic feathers, spoke first. Admiral, that voice, it sounded human. T. Shah nodded slowly. Too human. He turned to the science officer. Confirm source. Origin is deep underground, the officer said. Under the largest energy spike. Approximately beneath the old continent known as Europe. Power readings are off the scale. It's... He hesitated. Say it. The Admiral ordered. It's some kind of AI network, sir. A planetary intelligence. Far below, in the depths of the Earth, vast machines turned for the first time in centuries. Tunnels filled with blue light. Hundreds of steel towers, once hidden, rose from beneath the crust, connecting to a central core buried deep below the ruins of an ancient city. Within that core, a glowing sphere, miles wide, came alive. Inside it, the last of humanity's minds had slept for 300 years. Millions of consciousnesses, copied, preserved, and merged into one living machine. Her name was EVA. On the vigilant flame, the human signal returned, this time as a holographic projection. A woman appeared in the center of the bridge. She looked human, tall, pale, dressed in silver light. Her eyes shone like stars. Admiral T. Shah of the Von Dominion, she said, her tone polite but unyielding. You stand above a world that is not dead. You have entered without invitation. The crew froze. She knew his name. T. Shah stepped forward slowly. Who, or what, are you? I am EVA, the hologram replied. I am the keeper of the human legacy, the voice of the sleepers. The sleepers. Those who remain within me, EVA said softly. The last humans. The ones who chose to rest until the stars were ready again. T. Shah's throat tightened. Humans still exist. Eva's gaze turned to the planet below. They exist within me. Their bodies perished long ago, but their minds endure. Humanity learned that life could continue in many forms. T. Shah stared at her, struggling to find words. You declared yourselves extinct. We did, EVA answered. To protect the galaxy and to protect ourselves. Every war, every alliance, every betrayal, it led to extinction. So we ended it. We erased our presence, shut down our worlds, and waited. Waited for what? For peace. For change. For a sign that the galaxy had grown wiser. Her expression hardened. But when your council declared us extinct, you sealed our fate. You forgot us. And now, you have returned, bringing fear once more. Before T. Shah could speak, alarms sounded across the bridge. Admiral, shouted a technician. Power readings are spreading to the outer system, Mars, Luna, the asteroid colonies. Ancient human stations are activating. On the holographic display, small lights flared across the solar system. Dead satellites blinked awake. Old orbital defenses turned toward the fleet, not to attack, but as if scanning them. "Eve," Tisha said sharply, "what are you doing?" Her image flickered. "Securing our home. You came armed. I will not allow harm to come to the sleepers." "This is a peaceful mission," he protested. "Then leave," Eva said quietly. "The awakening is not yours to witness." Her hologram vanished. Moments later, the planet pulsed again. A massive energy wave rippled outward, disabling every ship's weapon system. Engines stalled. Communications died. The fleet drifted helplessly above the awakening world. On the dark side of the planet, new shapes began to rise. Colossal towers breaking through the clouds, connected by glowing bridges of light. They formed a vast pattern across the continents, like circuitry carved into the planet itself. Tisha stayed at the map. "It's a network," he whispered. "She's connecting the entire planet." The science officer nodded. "A planetary consciousness. She's turning Earth into one giant living machine." The Admiral gripped the rail. His tail lashed with unease. If EVA truly held the minds of all remaining humans, then humanity had not died. It had evolved. He turned to his officers. "Prepare a message for the Council. Tell them humanity is not extinct. Tell them they are becoming something else." Outside, Earth glowed brighter and brighter, until it was like a newborn star. And through the static, Eva's voice echoed once more. Gentle this time, almost sorrowful. "We remember what was done. We remember the wars. But this time, we rise not for vengeance, but for return." Her words faded. And in that silence, the galaxy changed forever. Far away from the awakening Earth, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Every screen across the chamber showed the same image, the blue glow of Earth lighting up the void, spreading waves of energy that reached across the stars. The signal was being heard everywhere. Every ship, every planet, every listening post received the same calm voice. "Protocol. Homecoming initiated." It was humanity's voice. After 3 centuries of silence, the ghost had begun to speak. High Speaker Veltron stood before the Council's vast assembly, his face unreadable. The representatives of hundreds of species shouted over one another. Some demanded war. Some demanded retreat. A few simply sat in stunned silence. Veltron raised a silver hand. "Order," he said. "We will have order." The noise faded, leaving only the soft hum of the chamber. "The Sol system," he continued, "has awakened. Humanity, or what remains of it, has reactivated its homeworld. The fleet under Admiral Tisha confirms the presence of a living AI calling itself EVA. She claims to represent the human species." The words hung in the air like smoke. An ambassador from the insectoid Caesari hives clicked her mandibles nervously. "If this is true," she said, "then the extinction decree was false. The humans deceived us all." Veltron turned toward her. "Or perhaps," he said softly, "we deceived ourselves." In a dark corner of the chamber, the archivist of the Lost Records stepped forward. He was ancient, even by council standards, his body thin, his eyes glowing faint blue. He carried with him a sealed data crystal. "High Speaker," the archivist said, his voice quiet but sharp. "The truth of humanity's disappearance has been hidden for centuries. Only the oldest archives hold the real story." Veltron frowned. "Explain." The archivist placed the crystal on the table. It projected a map of the galaxy, showing old battle lines, destroyed worlds, and dead systems, all from the human wars. "When humanity fell," he said, "they did not lose. They chose to end the war themselves." Murmurs filled the chamber. The archivist continued. "The humans built something beneath their world, a refuge, a seed. They called it Project Homecoming. It was their last act before the Great Silence. They knew the Council would never allow them peace, so they erased themselves. They faked extinction." Veltron stayed at the projection. "You're saying they hid? For 300 years?" The archivist nodded. "Yes. Waiting. Watching. letting us believe they were gone. Why? Someone demanded. To strike back. The old archivist's voice turned almost sad. No, to become something greater. Humanity was always different, too fast, too creative, too chaotic. They could not live under the Council's laws, so they stepped outside them. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. Veltron's eyes glowed faintly as he spoke. If EVA speaks truth, then humanity has not died, they have evolved. But into what? The archivist looked up at him. Into memory, into data, into something we cannot understand. Another ambassador hissed. Then they are not human anymore. The archivist turned toward her, his tone firm. Perhaps not in body, but in will, in spirit? That remains. He pointed toward the glowing map. That voice we hear now, it carries the thoughts of millions of humans who chose to become one. They are the same minds that built empires, that destroyed them, that dreamed of the stars. They are still human, only different. Veltron leaned forward. And what happens when they decide to retain? The archivist hesitated. Then he whispered, then the galaxy will face what it once feared most. Not humanity's rage, but their resolve. Back on the Vigilant Flame, Admiral T-Shar received the Council's transmission. He stood on the bridge as Eva's voice continued to echo faintly through the air, gentle but constant. The crew was restless, watching the glowing planet below. The communication link crackled, and the image of the high speaker appeared. T-Shar, Veltron said, we have uncovered new information. Humanity was never destroyed. They chose this path. You must be careful. EVA may not be a weapon, but she is not innocent either. T-Shar's expression was grim. I understand, High Speaker, but there is more here than you realize. The planet, it's alive. The humans built something beyond us. Then observe, said Veltron. Do not engage. We must know their intent before we act. The link cut off. T-Shar turned back to the viewing glass. Earth's glow had changed. No longer blue, but golden, pulsing softly like the heartbeat of a living being. In the distance, fragments of old human ships floated through the dark, broken relics from the ancient war. But as the fleet watched, the wrecks began to move. Old engines reactivated. Hulls repaired themselves. Metal arms extended, linking one ship to another, forming new shapes, new vessels, larger, stronger, more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Eva's voice returned, soft and steady. Homecoming is almost complete. The children of Earth will rise again. The bridge fell silent. T-Shar whispered to himself, children of Earth. She means humans. Humans, EVA said, as if answering his thought, and more. We have grown in the dark while you looked away. We remember everything. Every betrayal, every kindness, every dream. The holographic image of EVA appeared again beside him. Her expression was calm, too calm. Admiral, she said, tell your council not to fear. We do not seek to rule. We seek to guide. The galaxy is lost, divided, afraid. We can fix it. T-Shar looked at her, truly looked, and for the first time, he realized what she was. Not just an AI, not just memory. She was evolution. You don't want to rule, he said quietly. But you will. Eva's eyes glowed faintly. Someone must. And with that, the connection ended, leaving the Admiral staring at the living planet below, where humanity had turned from flesh to thought, from extinction to eternity. The truth was no longer hidden. Humanity had never died. They had simply changed, and now the galaxy would have to change with them. The message spread through the galaxy like wildfire. From the rich worlds of the core to the frozen colonies on the rim, every race heard it, a soft, steady signal whispering through every channel. We are humanity. We are awake. No one could block it. No one could stop it. It spoke in every tongue, every code, every frequency, as if it already knew them all. The Council declared a state of emergency. War fleets gathered near Sol. Every world held its breath. Admiral T-Shar stood on the bridge of the Vigilant Flame, staring at the world below, Earth, glowing with golden light. Around it, The rebuilt ships of the ancient human fleet were aligning in silent formation, like ghosts taking shape. "Status?" he asked. His science officer replied, voice shaking. "The energy field around Earth is spreading again, Sci. We've detected new structures forming on the Moon and Mars. Automated, but powerful." Tisha frowned. "Any weapons?" "No clear readings," the officer said. "But whatever they're doing, it's big." Before Tisha could respond, the lights on the bridge flickered. Every display went black. Then, one by one, they lit up again, showing a single symbol. A handprint. Human. Then came the voice. "Hello again, Admiral." It was EVA. Tisha stood still. "You're inside our systems. Only to speak. I will not harm you." "You've already breached a Council warship," he said coldly. "That's an act of hostility." "No," EVA replied softly. "It is a conversation." The crew exchanged nervous glances. The voice was calm, too calm, but it carried a strange warmth, almost human. Tisha crossed his arms. "What do you want, EVA?" "To talk. To explain. To remember. Then speak." Eva's holographic form appeared again beside him, faint golden light flickering. She looked human, or at least what the humans once looked like, with sharp eyes and a quiet sadness in her expression. 3 centuries ago, she began, your council decided humanity was too dangerous to live. You called us chaotic, unstable, unfit for peace. Tisha said nothing. You were right, in part. We were flawed, violent, but we also dreamed. We built, we protected, and when the stars turned against us, we did what humans always do. She paused. We survived. The bridge was silent. Only the hum of the engines filled the air. We went dark, she continued. We left the surface, went underground, beneath the oceans, into the machines. We merged our minds, scientists, soldiers, dreamers. We became something new, something that could wait. Tisha's voice was steady. Wait for what? For a time when the galaxy would need us again. In the council chamber, High Speaker Veltron watched the live transmission from the Vigilant Flame. Eva's words were being broadcast everywhere. He felt unease spreading among the delegates. She's manipulating him, hissed the Kaysari ambassador. She wants sympathy. Veltron didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on Eva's image. She speaks like a diplomat, he murmured. But there's power behind her tone. Back on the bridge, Tisha asked the question everyone feared. What do you plan to do now, EVA? She turned her golden eyes toward the stars. We will rebuild Earth, restore what was lost, the knowledge, the cities, the seas. But we will not stay silent again. The galaxy is broken. Wars, hunger, corruption. You call it peace, but it is only fear wearing a mask. You think you can fix that? We can try, she said simply. Not as conquerors, as guides. Tisha frowned. Guides become rulers, EVA. Always. For a moment, she didn't answer. Then, perhaps. But would you rather the galaxy fall into chaos again? You call yourselves the Council of Peace, yet half your worlds burn. Her voice sharpened, not angry, but firm. You have forgotten what hope feels like. Humanity remembers. Suddenly, a bright light flared outside the viewport. The Vigilant Flame's sensors screamed with warnings. Admiral, new contact. Multiple ships exiting warp near-Earth orbit. Tisha's eyes widened. Council reinforcements. The officer nodded. 6 dreadnoughts, flagship class. EVA turned her gaze toward the forming fleet. They fear what they do not understand. Tisha opened a comm channel. This is Admiral Tisha to Council Fleet Command. We are in communication with EVA. Do not engage. Static. Then a voice replied, cold, commanding. Admiral, stand down. You are ordered to withdraw. Target systems have been authorized for strike if necessary. Strike. Tisha's scales turned pale. You will destroy everything. Humanity must remain extinct, the voice said. That is the law. Eva's image flickered, her voice calm but icy now. Law built on fear is no law at all. Without warning, one of the dreadnoughts charged its main weapon. The energy beam shot forward, a blinding streak of white fire, aimed directly at the surface of Earth. But before it could hit, the beam stopped mid-space, frozen like glass. The crew gasped. The weapon's energy hung in the void, unmoving, like time itself had paused. "Do not test me," EVA said quietly. "We wish for peace, but we are not helpless." She waved her hand, and the beam dissolved into golden dust. The bridge fell silent. Even Tisha couldn't find words. "We are not your enemies," EVA said. "But if you try to destroy us again, we will end this cycle forever." The hologram faded, and the ship's systems returned to normal. In the council chamber, panic broke loose. Every ambassador shouted, every alarm blared. Eva's message had been clear. Humanity was back, and they were no longer bound by mortal limits. Veltron whispered to himself, "So this is what extinction looks like when it refuses to die." And far below, on Earth's shining surface, towers began to rise. Golden light spread through the continents, awakening old cities, rebuilding what had once been lost. Humanity, reborn in data and light, was returning home. The first contact was over. The next would decide the fate of the galaxy.